What is going on, you guys? My name is Jess, and welcome to Original Budgets by Jess, where we simply budget happy. Alright, you guys, so today we're going to be covering the basics of budgeting. So I have my trusty iPad here that I'm going to be referencing throughout this video because I have my notes on here. But before we get started, you need to get a pencil and a piece of paper to take down notes. So I'll wait. Go get the piece of paper and the pencil so you can be successful and write down all the information that I'll be giving to you today. Did you get it yet? All right, so let's get started. So, the first thing, what is budgeting? My definition of budgeting is a personal plan for your money and the way you live your life. So, to simplify what I just said even more, budgeting is basically a guide for your money. Budgeting can be a fun thing. A lot of people sometimes think, oh, budgeting restricts me from doing the things that I love to do, which is not the case at all. If you budget the way you live your life and budget out the things that are important to you, you will find success in budgeting, and it will also be a lot of fun because you're doing the things you absolutely love doing. The next thing are bills. So, what are bills? Bills, an amount of money owed for goods, supplies, or services rendered, set out in a printed or written statement of charges. So basically, your rent or your mortgage, your car payment, insurance, electric bill, water bill, etc. So your fixed or unfixed bills. Spending. What is spending? Money available to spend on pleasure/entertainment and essential items. So you'll hear me reference a lot about spending categories, and we'll go over that a little bit. So categories could be like groceries, gas, beauty and health, going out money, takeout, maybe even getting a coffee could be one of your categories. The next thing is savings. So savings is the money one has saved, especially through a bank or investment plan. So there's many ways of saving, and some accounts are a savings account, a Roth IRA, a 401k, a high yielding savings account, or even your piggy bank. Next is debt. So the definition of debt is the money you owe to someone or an institution that needs to be repaid back with interest or sometimes without. So examples of debt would be loans. So there's different types of loans. There's a car loan, there's a mortgage loan, there's IOUs. So maybe you borrowed $20 from your friend and that's a debt because you still owe them that money. Credit card debt is also a different type of debt, and also maybe your account is overdrawn. That's a type of debt as well. The next thing is investing. So the definition of investing is to commit money in order to earn a positive financial return. So I'm myself getting into learning a lot more about investing. I find it very interesting and also important because I want to also grow wealth, so that's why I'm learning about it. But different types of investments can be a property investment, stocks, bonds, NFTs, collectibles, gold, etc. And now we're going to be going into the top 3 budgeting methods. So I hope for right now you were able to catch up with what I was saying. So I just basically went over the main parts of budgeting, which are bills, your spending, savings, debt, and investing. And now we're going to get into the budgeting methods. There's many budgeting methods out there, but I'm going to give you the top 3 that most people use. If you don't like the ones that I present today, you can always go on Google and Google different budgeting methods to find one that works best for you. So the first popular one, which is the one that I use, is a zero-based budget. So what is a zero-based budget? Let me tell you. A zero-based budget is income minus expenses equals 0. This budgeting method is best for people who have a set income each month or at least can reasonably estimate their monthly income. After calculating your monthly income, add up your monthly spending and savings to equal that income amount. So this to me is the easiest budgeting method because all you're doing is taking all your bills, all your debt, and all of your savings. You're adding that all up and then you're subtracting it from your income. If you are spending or owing more than you make, then you're running into a problem, and that's probably why you have a lot of debt, because you are owing or you spend more than you make. The next budgeting method that I originally started with and recommend to some people if they're starting out is the envelope system budget. So you'll hear a lot, especially from the top budgeting gurus and experts, is called the cash budgeting method. So literally it's exactly what it is, but I'm going to read the definition that I have. And the envelope system budget, this budgeting method is similar to the zero-based budget, but with one big difference. You do it all with cash. In an envelope budgeting system, you plan out how you're going to spend your money each month and use an envelope for each spending category. Then you withdraw as much money as you need to fill each envelope based on your budget. So when I first started out, I did the cash envelope system. Now that I got used to it, I don't do it anymore. There was a lot of things that started to become a problem for me, and so I decided to go back to cards, and I'll explain how I like to budget in a different video because I can go more in depth. But the bottom line is the envelope system is really good for people who need to, I guess, control their spending and really understand what they're spending their money on, because having the physical cash really makes you understand, wow, I'm really spending this amount of money on this, or I don't have money for this because I've already spent it. So seeing that actual physical cash really helps you understand and get better at budgeting and managing your money. The next thing and the last one of top 3 budgeting methods is the 50-30-20 budget. And let me explain what that is. This budgeting method is straightforward and a great option for new budgeters because it doesn't require meticulous tracking of all of your expenses. I don't recommend that you don't not track your expenses. It's important to track your expenses. But anyways, you just break down your expenses into 3 categories. Necessary expenses, which is 50%, discretionary expenses, which is 30%, and savings and debt payments, which is 20%. So if you're a person who really likes to work in percentages and really good with math, I do recommend this budget. I realized that it definitely didn't work for me because I don't like working in percentages. I really like having a more free-flowing, customizable budget because every month is different for me. So that's why I chose to use the zero-based budget. But like I said, it's super important to do your own research on which budgeting method would be best for you, because I always say find the budgeting method that will match your lifestyle. And now, next, we're going to get into the six-step process of creating your budget. So I hope you're still with me. I hope this is not confusing. I try to make it as simple as possible. But we're going to get into it real deep with how to create a budget now. So the first step in creating a budget is establishing your why. Your why for budgeting. Understanding why you want to create or better your finance situation is important because you need to understand the reason before you can change your situation. So for an example, for me, my situation was I spent too much money and I wasn't saving. I didn't have a debt problem per se just quite yet, but it was leading into that situation. So I had to understand why I wanted to start budgeting in order to have success. And that's what you need to do first. So establish your why. The next step is go deep into your finances. Take a detailed inventory of all your bills, debt, fund money, living expenses. You need to see where your money has been going, and then you need to see where it needs to go. So I always recommend you go back 3 to 4 to 6 months of your past spending to really get a broad picture of what you've been spending your money on. The reason why I recommend 3 to 6 months is because things change. Like, for example, the summertime. For me, as an office assistant and a coach, my money is a lot lower. I earn a lot less during the summertime than I do during the school year because our summer hours are cut shorter. Therefore, I budget differently because my income is smaller. So for you, you may like to go on vacation during the summer, and let's say from the regular time of the months you don't travel, it's going to be a completely different budget. So that's why I recommend 3 to 6 months, because it really gives you a broad picture of what your lifestyle is like and what you really spend your money on a regular basis. So I highly recommend that you also break it down into bills, debt, living expenses, and then your savings. So put each of those in a category, and then by month, list out how much you spent per that category so you know exactly where your numbers are at. The next thing, step number 3, is to get organized and declutter. Now you know where you are in your finance journey. It's time to decide what needs to happen to create the life you want. So at this point, you need to organize all your accounts. You need to organize what system you'll be using. You need to organize also the process of how you're going to pay your bills, because that is how you are going to have success, is if you're organized from the start. So when you are in the process of refining and tweaking your budget, you're not having to deal with staying organized because you already did that at the beginning. And now, step number 4 is create the plan. And this is the key to lasting success. When creating your plan, it's important to keep in mind what is important to you, what is essential to living life, and what will make you happy. So for me, budgeting allows for you to live a happier life if you do it correctly. There are times where you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit of fun, or going out, or buying that coffee, or going hanging out with your friends in your journey, especially if you're in debt. If you're not in debt, you definitely have a lot more leeway because you're not owing people money. But in order to stay out debt-free, you have to manage your money properly, so you're only using money that you already have and not money of the future or borrowed money. So it's really important to take time in creating that budget that's going to work for you. And that budget is definitely not going to be the same your entire finance journey. As life changes, your budget should change. So for example, if let's say you're having a kid, you're going to have to start budgeting out money for that kid. It's going to need diapers. You're going to have more food. You're going to need wipes, formula, all this different stuff. If you're a college student, you have books you have to pay for. You have to budget out your money for food, transportation, things like that. If you're fresh out of college, you gotta budget out your new living expenses. If you're gonna buy a car, just different things like that. So over time, your budget will evolve, and I want you to understand that's okay, and that's the beauty of budgeting. It's supposed to fit your lifestyle and what you need. The next step number 5, we already created the plan. The next step is to execute the plan. So you got the plan, now it's time to execute. In order to break or change habits, you need to input new ones. Make a list of tasks, rules, habits that will help you stay consistent with your plan. So I highly recommend you creating a budgeting routine. So for example, for me, on a daily basis, if I have swiped my card, I track every expense every time I swipe my card. And then on Fridays, I input it in my budgeting workbook to keep track of it all in one place. And then at the end of every pay period, I overview the whole budget and create the new budget for the next period. So that might not work for you. I recommend you establishing what will work best for you. Because some people, if you get paid only once a month, then you'll maybe just want to budget once a month. Or maybe you get paid every week, you're going to have to budget every week. Whatever it is that works best for you, that's what you definitely should do. Another thing that you need to establish is rules and habits. So for me, when I first started, a rule that I had was I could only spend the money in cash. Once the cash was gone, that was it. It was no more buying. It wasn't taking out my card and spending. Once the cash was gone, I wasn't allowed to spend any more money. Now that I have evolved, it's a lot different. The rule now is I can't swipe that card anymore because I am a card spender. And lastly, step number 6 would be review, revise, repeat. Like I said earlier, your budget will always be changing as life changes for you. So your budget will never be perfect because life isn't. Over time, your budget will change because life will change. And it's important for your budget to keep up with you. Don't get fixated on your budget. It's just a guide to help you with better managing your money. So I know recently I've been really fixated on staying in budget. and not doing this and not doing that, which really kind of got me into a spot where I hated budgeting, because I really forgot that it doesn't have to be so strict. Sometimes you gotta live life, because life is short, and sometimes you gotta buy that thing that you wanted to buy, or go to that thing that you wanted to do, because maybe you might not get that opportunity again. Now, I'm not saying go buy that $2,000 designer bag, because is that really going to make you happy? Is that really that important? But things like, let's say, going on vacation with your family, that's memories that you can't get back, and that's memories you can't put a price on it. So just really understanding what's important to you is what I've realized, and I've realized having those life experiences is what is important to me, and that's what I've been starting to focus on and shifting what I do in my budget. Hopefully that makes sense. And lastly, I highly recommend, this is my biased opinion because I did create it, is purchasing the Simple Happy budget template that I created. It is available on my website, and it is a digital download. In there, I created a workbook that I feel can help anybody start in their budgeting journey, or if they've already started budgeting, continue on their journey. The reason why I call it the Simple Happy budget is because it's simple, and the end goal is for you to live a happy life. Because at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants, is to be happy, to live a happy life. And I feel like depending on what background you come from, I know for me, I come from a single person household, and watching my parents navigate money and explain money to me, it definitely gave me that pre-notion that money is important, but money isn't everything. And simplifying your finances and understanding the value of money. So I hope this video was helpful. It definitely is just the surface of budgeting, and for more guidance, I definitely would say do your research and Google different budgeting methods, different words that I said today. Also Google it so you can really understand what budgeting all entails. But I feel like I did cover a good broad of what you will be doing when you start budgeting. And that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful. And always remember, be you, stay true, be original ink. I'll see you guys in the next video.